Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for the third and final part of the Q&A, so let's get this started. First question. Hey Jason, huge fan from Estonia. Please do a video on if knuckle conditioning is useful for martial arts and your take on grippers. Grippers, I don't know, I could take them or leave them. I've had some captains of crush grippers. I don't know that they did anything for my grip that high volume pulling didn't do. So, I can take or leave grippers. Maybe they're helpful for people who need them. As far as knuckle conditioning, yeah, I've used knuckle conditioning, and so did friends of mine years ago that I did martial arts with. We did a lot of stuff where we started by punching sand, like had bowls full of sand that we would hit, and eventually, rotated over to little round pebbles as your hands got harder, punching steel plates. So just conditioning your knuckles to hitting harder and harder objects helps. And it's not just knuckles, the same thing. You can drive your hands into sand, eventually you can get to where you can drive them into smooth pebbles, eventually into gravel, things like that as you build up over time. But yeah, absolutely those things carry over to martial arts, at least in my experience growing up messing with all of it. But like I said, start with a media like sand. Get you a nice bowl of sand, or go out on the beach and just punch the sand, drive your hands into it, and just gradually over time work up to harder media to put your hands into. All right, next question. Hey Jason, you've mentioned before that Mad Cow's 5x5 is a good program to run after completing your novice program. What accessory movements would you recommend for someone looking for size and historically doesn't get enough chest development from the regular pause flat bench? Well, assuming that your overhead press and your flat bench are both good, because normally those are going to be included in any of these programs, I'm going to say that if you're decently strong on your flat bench and your overhead press after finishing the novice program and your chest is still lagging, I'm going to go to weighted dips. That's going to be my next go-to for most guys. If the pause bench isn't bringing your chest up, I think the next step is to go to a weighted dip, and I think the weighted dip will hopefully give you what you're looking for. Now, you need to keep in mind, though, that you might actually have really good pec development and proportion. You just might be comparing your pecs to some big bodybuilder who also has 20 or 21 inch arms, when you only have 16. So put that in perspective. But then failing that, usually my last resort for people, if the weighted dips can't bring your chest up, pause bench isn't bringing your chest up, full range of motion touching the chest overhead press is still not getting you in proportion, that's usually where I might actually recommend a more bodybuilding type movement for someone, because again, you need chest development for certain sports. So maybe an incline dumbbell bench press where you get a deep stretch and you get the stretch reflex at the bottom. That would then be my final go-to. But usually if your bench and overhead press are up to speed and your chest is lagging a little bit, I think the weighted dip will usually sort you out and fix that problem pretty quickly. All right, next question. Hey Jason, in your last Q&A, you said that most natties will cap out at 500 deadlift, 400 squat, 300 bench, 200 overhead press on your intermediate program, and after that they should look for a different program. Can you suggest what program to run at this point? I pretty much surpassed these numbers on squat, deadlift, 430 squat, 550 deadlift. While my bench and overhead press are close, 285 pause bench, 185 pause overhead press. And now I'm having some serious plateaus. My ultimate lifetime lift strength goals are a 500 squat, 600 deadlift, 315 bench, 225 overhead press. Those are some serious goals for a natty. And I like it. Go for it. You need to go to advanced training, brother. If you got that far off my intermediate program, your squat and deadlifts are past what they should have gotten on that program. It's time to go to advanced programming. This is where cookie cutter programming doesn't work anymore. This is when we get to a point where I tell people you need very aggressive, fine-tuned programming that's going to be rotating through different things, meaning you may not run the exact same program all the time. You're going to need to rotate through things. This is the point to where either you start messing with various things like Bulgarian style training. This is where you start messing with things like concurrent periodization. This is the point where you start hiring coaches to help you out, because when we reach a threshold like this, you're going to find it's going to be very, very difficult to make further progress off of just some template that someone gives you. You really need to have a more fine-tuned training protocol to go from here. And there's a lot of different options out there. What I'm going to recommend, you need to start looking into all the different and advanced training protocols that are out there from the different coaches, and you need to start experimenting with some of them and start finding what's going to work for you to kind of get to that next level. But you've now surpassed the point to where just standard programs that have normal names that you're just going to pick up a book or a template and run, they're not going to probably get you to your goals anymore. This is where you need advanced programming, and advanced programming is specialized to the individual. In other words, you custom tailor it to your specific needs and where you are right now based upon all your weaknesses, your goals, your strengths, things like that. So this is where cookie cutter templates usually don't work any further, and that just is what it is. All right, next question. What's your thoughts on wrist wraps for the bench? Well, I think at a certain threshold of strength, you need wrist wraps. I came back and I started training again without them, and then I finally put wraps on, a couple months ago, because for me, I know personally, I don't want to do any sort of chest press over about 300 pounds without wraps. And it's not even the case of I can't handle it. It's that if I want to do a lot of heavy pressing, my wrists are not going to recover. I don't have particularly big wrists, and yeah, I could probably do a 1 rep max once a week without wraps, but I'm not going to be able to press multiple times a week without them, me personally. And I think you're going to find most serious bench pressers use wrist wraps. There are some exceptions. Some guys just have exceptionally tough wrists, just due to thickness or whatever in the joint, but most people don't. And you're going to find that at a certain strength threshold, that extra stability that the wrist wrap creates is going to help you just keep from getting so much wrist inflammation and pain and things like that. That's just going to impede your training, impede your quality of life, things like that. And what people need to remember when we're talking about wraps over a stable joint like the wrist, it's not the same as putting a wrap over your knee or your elbow that's bending, because those allow you to lift more weight. They store energy. In fact, even elbow sleeves and knee sleeves actually help you lift more weight because you're compressing the material, and it's supposed to be a stationary joint. It's wrapped up, and then it bends against the material. Whereas with a wrist wrap, all you're doing is taking a stationary joint, and I might have worded that wrong. I might have said a stationary, I meant a mobile joint. In this case, it's a stationary joint that you're just supporting to keep it straighter, to keep it from bending any further during the lift, so you can put it into a safe position and keep it there. Because ultimately what you're going to find on chest pressing is that you're going to be able to press more weight with your chest with any given amount of strength and bone density and everything else that you have than you would be able to press normally in most environments and under normal biomechanical circumstances. And so it just puts a lot of pressure on the wrist, and not everyone is built to do that. And wrist wraps can just help alleviate some of that inflammation from all that compression on there. Because again, it raises the hydrostatic pressure in the joint a little bit, and again, it just keeps it more stable so that it doesn't move under the heavy load. Because again, you don't want that joint to move much when it's loaded heavy. So again, it just keeps it stationary. All right, next question and last question of the week. How are you going to improve your channel? Well, actually, over the last year or so, I've changed the way I do things a lot. I've changed my approach, my outreach, the variation in content. So I've done a lot to improve it already. As far as the current plan, I do have long-term plans for the channel. But for now, the current plan is to keep doing what I'm doing. My channel's growing really, really fast right now, and I know I don't have stuff turned on so guys can't see it. They have no clue. For all they know, people say, hey, he's lying about that. He's losing subscribers, and that's okay. I see my numbers. I know what's going on. And so I plan accordingly. If I can sustain the current growth this channel has had over the last, 4 to 5 months, right? This channel has really grown a lot since November onward in terms of just subscribers, outreach, all of that. Income that it earns have all gone up tremendously. So if I can just sustain that, put more money away, buy a house, build a home gym, I think that's going to be the next level up for my channel. Because if I keep really hammering my strength the way I am now, by the time I get a home gym built, people will actually be reasonably impressed. I'll film a lot more workouts, do a lot more demonstrations. I want to learn a lot of new things myself in my own home gym. And with my ability to film whatever angles I want, do voiceover the way I want, mics the way I want without dealing with a gym environment, I think it's going to allow me the opportunity to demonstrate a lot of heavy weight all the time. But I think, again, people will be surprised where I'll be at by then. I'm a lot stronger than I have been since actually I've been to the UK. I'm the strongest I have been since returning to the United States right now. And I plan on being a lot stronger. So by the time I have a home gym up, I should be stronger than anything you guys have watched me do before. Then I will go ahead and that'll take the channel up to the next level, because I'll be able to teach all the different new things I'm learning, different exercises I'm going to be messing with over time, like my Olympic lifts, maybe get this hook grip down, learn to clean well, learn to power snatch, do all the Bulgarian training, and just start filming all of it. So then we'll go back to it being a real full-time lifting channel again, and again actually demonstrating some big numbers, some big lifts, and this taking you guys along on my journey. But at this time I feel like the channel just needs a little refinement, just to sustain its current growth rate, and then I'll jump into that next phase, because again at the rate it's going now, I don't think it's going to take me too long. It'll be less than a year before I'm in a house and just build a gym at home and do all that stuff for you guys to see. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.